I'll just remind everyone of how we can open our Evo. It's in this button here at the top here. There we go, my screen's unfrozen. Okay, so we can click on here and it takes us into our products. So at the moment I'm in our Definitiv, which is my landing page. And to go into Evo, I can click on here, or I can go into any of the products here on the side. So I just want to give you a quick recap on Analytics and Collaborate before I jump into Copilot. So in Analytics, which we talked about last week, there's a section at the top here that shows the Copilot data and the symbol. So all of this information in here, we're able to ask questions on. The same with Collaborate. So with Collaborate, we've got a site set up that we're sharing with everyone, and it's got our company awards and agreements in there. Obviously, this is just all sample data, so you'd have a lot more interesting documents in here, I'm sure. So when we click on a site, these are the documents that are loaded up in here. Whenever you see that symbol, that means that the information in there is available to be read in Copilot. So again, you can ask questions. So when we go into Copilot, it's just by using the menu down the side under the Access button. Now I've got mine set to full screen, but when you open it, it will look like that. So to make it large, you just click on that button there, and I will keep it large today so it's easy for you to see when we're demoing it. The first area we come into is what we call a skill. So we've got 4 skills that are actually built for us at the moment, and the good news is we're getting more coming soon. So things like payroll tax and long service leave will be in here as well. So at the moment, we've got a couple of external skills. We've got an ATO search and we've got the Fair Work Australia search. These two here are our internal searches. We've got Analytics, which is where your payroll data resides. And then we've got Evo Docs, which is actually pulling through from your Collaborate product. Now, normally I always start with the ATO, but today I'm going to start in payroll, which is what you're all here to see anyway. So let's just jump into the payroll. Now, when you get started with Analytics and Copilot, it takes a little while to start to talk the language. Okay, they say it's natural language, but it is the natural language of the payroll. We do have a couple of little questions up here that are pre-written for you that you can click on at any time. I'll just click on this first one, and it will tell you what data you can query. So it's saying anything in those, and if you want to see more information, you can of course go back into your Analytics and see that. So we'll just get started. When you want to change topic, you just click on here. And down the bottom, when we ask a question, we can pick a skill from here, or you can let it auto-select. I still find that I like to pick a skill. Auto-select is quite new, but when we're looking for payroll information, I want it to be really specific. So I tend still to pick the skill that we're going to look at. And I'll just get a question and get us started. So when we talk natural language, it, as I said, is the natural language of the data we're searching. So we're talking payroll. So we're talking pay items and pay runs. So what I'm asking here is to provide me everything that is an expense type in the pay run number 214. And in this session, there is a little bit of waiting time between questions, and I have about 30 questions. So sorry, we have to fill that void. Now what it does is it comes back and it tells you what data view it's used and what it's actually looked for. So if it can't match something, it will tell you what it's actually collected. But here it's giving us a result of all the expense items and the value. So if I'd like to find out a little bit more about one of the items, I can come in and say, well, can you show me the detail in the car allowance, for instance? And what I'm asking for is the full name and the total value. And there we are. And it's popped up with the answer for us, so we can see that in detail. Another one that I quite often get asked about is overtime. So I'm just going to pop in here. Can it give me the result for any overtime that is double time? So what we're doing with this is it's sort of giving us an area where we can go in and you can have your standard questions that you might like to ask the payroll. You want to do a check on payroll and go, does that look right? Does someone have a really high overtime, for instance? You think that doesn't look right. Anytime it gives you more than 15 rows in an answer, you get the ability to come down here and click on the button and it will open up in a full view for you so you can see everyone. And then, of course, you can use the download option that you've had before. Now, we are teaching it, so when it does give you the right answer, a good little trick is just to click on the thumbs up button. And you can also copy the data out of here and paste it into another format. And if you'd like to chart the information, you can just click on Show Chart. And it will just take a minute. And there we are. So it's quite, it does do quite a bit for you. So I'm just going to click on New Topic for a minute and go back into Analytics. So if you're looking for one employee in particular, what you can do is come in and say, I'd like a summary of pay items for that employee. I do generally ask for financial year, but you don't need to. You can look at the history for that employee from when they started. It's going back to the very first pay for that person if you don't have a date range specified. And there we are. So it's coming up and it's showing me. And because I didn't say expense type now, I'm getting accruals. I'm getting the whole history for that employee in there. And again, you can drill down further if you'd like to by asking further questions. I do click on new topic quite a bit when I'm changing things. So just another question that we get asked in the demos by the sales team all the time. The sales team always ask me to put in something that shows something like this: who is the highest gross earner in your payroll? So we just pop that in and it will come up and tell us the person's name in a moment. There we are there. So it's telling us who the employee is. And again, you can ask it to include a breakdown. Now, once you start getting used to asking questions, you can get more specific. And I'm going to pop in a couple of more detailed questions in a moment. So we'll just wait for this one to give us the answer. And this one gives us an answer where if you're a real payroll person looking at this data, you would probably question. We've got overtime in here that is really high for this employee. So you'd sort of think, well, why are we getting such a high overtime for an employee in a financial year? And you probably want to go and have a look at that one. Okay, so what I mean by being specific, I'll just pop one of these in. You can point it to look at a data view. So what we were looking at before in Copilot is data views. So I'm actually going to ask it to click to go to this specific pay item and show me all annual leave. And I'm asking it to total it and to show me the employees' units as well. And we'll just get that answer. There we are there. So another version of that report, that request, is just slightly different. I'm saying to extract it from the pay item in days and hours, and I'm putting a sort on there, sort by employee name. So you can do grouping, you can sort, and as you get used to it, you'll get familiar with how to actually phrase your question. We'll be sharing some of these questions on our FAQs for you so that you can actually take them and copy them as well to help you get started. So once this one comes up, I'm going to move on. I'm going to go into the ATO and show you how you can ask questions at ATO and then Fair Work. And we'll just wait. This one's taking a little bit of time because I'm asking it to provide quite a lot of information. So it's telling us the hours, the amount, and the commence date, the completion date, and it's also added an extra bonus on there of when it was actually processed. So sometimes it'll do that. It'll actually give you a bit more information than what you've asked for, which is excellent. So now I'll just go across into ATO. Now, the reason I'm going to ask the ATO some questions is with Copilot, it doesn't have to just be about payroll. You know, you've got people in your organisation that might be interested in looking at getting a service from the ATO. Like, what's the difference between a BAS agent and a tax agent? What service should I be going for? So you can come in here and ask the question, and it will tell you what the difference is between the two. So again, that's just something that maybe your finance team might be looking at. In payroll, we obviously ask lots of questions. I always check what the rates are for superannuation each year before I get started in the new financial year. So that's telling us that's actually come up with a different answer, but that's okay. So this one's telling us what the Medicare surcharge is. It hasn't actually read the MCB. It's given us the MLS. So sometimes that happens when you ask a question. Copilot is still learning, and that's what I mean about doing the thumbs up and the thumbs down. That didn't quite give me what I was after. So let's just pop in another question about superannuation. And there we are there. So that one has actually given us the concessional caps. Sometimes you have to be very specific with it, and that is something that everyone's working on with Copilot and this is a product that's not ours, so we're working with other providers to give us this information. So what happens is they're trying to give it more natural language to help you. And I'll just ask you another couple little ones. So if you're looking at contact details, how do I contact the ATO? So that one's for an employee. They might want to come in here and find out, how do I get information for doing my tax return? So there's a lot of things you can ask, right down to a pay item. So I've just asked a quick question about STP reporting. It will come back and tell me how often I need to report it, on the day or before, and how to process out-of-cycle payments, things like that. But you can also ask it about particular pay items. So if I've got a tool allowance, I'd like to know where I'd need to put that for my STP to. And there it is there. It will tell you where you need to provide that. So the ATO has a lot in there. It's not just about payroll. It's whatever is available on the ATO site. So if your finance team might need to get access to information. So thinking outside the box, you might want other people in the organisation to start using Copilot to help them in their day-to-day tasks as well. So I'll just jump into Fair Work. Again, Fair Work has been designed for employees right through to management. So a question that in payroll we might like to ask once a year is just to remind ourselves, what are the minimum entitlements under the NES? Now, when we first started with the NES, there were only 10 provisions. We're now up to, I think, 13. So it does change from time to time. So it's good just to come in here and refresh ourselves, ask the question and go, has something changed in there? Of course, you can drill down further in here as well. A question that we get asked sometimes is, it hasn't given me my answer. And the reason it does that sometimes is we haven't given it enough. So here, it will actually come back and tell you when you haven't given enough. First of all, it doesn't know what my role is. So that's what we mean about being a bit more specific. You need to actually say what your role is, if you're full-time, part-time. But it will help you and guide you. Other things, am I entitled to penalty rates or overtime? Again, it will come back and give you some basic information. But if you would actually like some information about your role in particular, you can actually put in what your award is and what your role is, and it will come back and tell you exactly what your pay rates are. So that's what we talk about being specific. It will actually come back and say, this is what you're entitled to for a week under that pay class. If you're looking for maybe what a meal allowance rate is, again, you can just come in here and ask it by the award number or the award name. and it will give you that information. If it does give you the wrong tax year, it does do that from time to time. You can then just say, this is okay because it changes in April, but you can actually say, what is it for the tax year 25, 26, and it will give you that answer. If you're doing redundancies, just again to refresh yourself, if something has changed, you can come in here and ask a quick question about redundancy entitlements, and it will come back and tell you what the current ruling is. So there we are, weeks to service if you're paying under the NES. And the last skill we have here is our Evo Docs. Now, Evo Docs is looking at what you have in your Collaborate. I'll just click on New Skill here. So some of you have seen this one before. If you're an employee in the organisation and you might have been asked to book a meeting room, you might not know how to book a meeting room or where the meeting rooms are, what capacity they have. So simply you can come in here and ask the question, and if it's in your policies that you've uploaded into Collaborate and shared, you've got this information coming through to you, and it takes you to the document itself. So start thinking outside the box with how you can use Evo Docs and Collaborate. You might have a lot of questions coming from different areas of the business, and people can self-serve. We've actually loaded a couple of allowances into the system. So again, I'll ask, because we've actually got the awards in there, you can also ask Evo Docs that question about what award I'm on and what pay rate am I entitled to. And it will come up with that information as well. That one's come up a little bit cleaner. The same question really, it's just reading it from a different document and it's displaying it differently. So there's a lot of information in our Evo Docs that you can search on. And as I say, once you start using it, you might find your finance team want to use it to do reporting, for instance. They might want to come in and go, well, I want to load in my accounts payable. You can actually do searches on company numbers and it will actually give you the results on any payments that you have. You can put anything in there you like and do searching on. So that was where I was going to stop today.